Here I am. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I pressed the wrong button. Welcome to the only Subaru live questions and answer session on the internet. If you're joining me for the first time, I'm Duncan. I tune Subarus, and yeah, been doing it since God was a boy. I can see we've got a load of people here already, and kind of know the routine. If you're joining me and you're on the live chat, it helps me to know that there's actually people watching, because I don't get the numbers watching on this or on my software. So say hi, say where you're from, what car you're driving. Hi Lauren, how you doing? Hi Shane, hi Zed, hi Doug, hi Colin, Steve. Yeah, hi everyone, hi Tom. So yeah, if you've got a question Subaru related, we're going to cover Subarus, anything you like, be it tuning, mods, what breaks, what doesn't break, what's good, what's bad, good things to do, bad things to do, what's a rip-off, what's not a rip-off, what's a good mod, bad mod, basically any question, problem solving. If you've got a problem with your Subaru, if you can give me some information about it, might be able to help you. As always, I will give the best answer that I can possibly give. I might not know the answer, but if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. Obviously in the UK, we only get, or Subaru decided to give up on the UK in 2016. So up to the VA version of the Impreza we got. We haven't got any VB Imprezas, so it's difficult to answer too many direct questions on that. We are starting to get some imported from Japan, but it's very limited at the moment. Hopefully that will change. I think we've got another 2 or 3 years to go before we can start bringing them in easier. So yeah, if you've got a question, it helps me to see it on the screen. If you can put a big Q at the beginning of it and then give me as much information as you can, split it over a couple of posts if you can, because there's only a certain amount of information that you can type in the box. Right, so I can see I've got quite a few questions already, which is fabulous. I will put my glasses on to actually see the screen, otherwise I'll be squinting at it. Plus it makes me look more intelligent, maybe. Right. Okay, right, let's pick up a couple of quick questions. 2-litre AVCS STI heads on a Subaru Type I EJ257 block. Which gaskets, 2-litre or 2.5? 2.5. They need to be clear of the cylinder tops, otherwise the pistons are going to hit the head gasket. So yeah, 2.5, that's what I put on my RA257 block. Admittedly, that's with 257 Forester. Actually, no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Forester STI heads. But yeah, 2.5 head gaskets is what you want. Right. Watching from Dominica. Blimey, hello. Right, AEM 400 or Hellcat. I like the Hellcat pumps, the in-tank Hellcats, or the surge tank Hellcats, and they're pretty easy to get hold of in the UK. The AEM 400 is a very good pump as well. Yeah, for your situation, Carl, yeah, the Aeromotive A1000, I think it is a good pump as well. We'll cope with that. On mine, I used to have a Fuel Lab Prodigy, really noisy, about 1300 horsepower capable fuel pump. And when you started up, you could feel the chassis twisting as the thing kicked in. Right, question from Neil. Right. Okay, right, had a P103 MAF fault back on new MAF, found a cold air feed, probably sucking in water as air filter was wet, found air chamber in the wing was missing. Can I fit it and not affect the map? If you're going to be replacing the mass airflow sensor, then yeah, I would put that Snorkus, it's technically called, put that in there. It's designed to sort of extract the water out of the air that comes in through the slot at the front of the bonnet, and sort of drip it out the bottom. I'd put that back on. 103, yeah, reset the ECU and see how it reacts. Okay, right, let's pick this up. Normally, I should say that this session normally lasts for about an hour. I'm going to kind of call it at an hour. So if you get your questions in early, you got a better chance of answering them, because at the end there's a mad rush and then a gap, and I tend to close the session and say, right, that's it, and then another question or two pops up. So yeah, just to help out, if you get the question in early, perfect. Right, crikey. Right, loads of questions. I need to stop waffling on. Right, question from Steve Farman. Hi Duncan, what V-band turbo would you recommend for an O2 rally car with 34mm restrictor? Right, the 34mm restrictor kind of restricts the airflow. There's the whole idea of it to... They originally designed it to kind of cap it at about 300 horsepower, but you can actually get about 340 horsepower worth of air through it. So there is no point in putting a bigger turbo than a 340 horsepower capable. The idea with these is to get as much boost as possible early, and that way, you know, you make the maximum potential out of it. The VF34 works really well for that because it's ball bearing. It will cope with, you know, high boost levels. You can run 2 bar of boost through that on a 34mm restrictor. Obviously, as it hits the maximum airflow, it will start to sort of cavitate at the front end. So it would be an idea to get pressure sensors on the front of the turbo, just so you're not over spooling it. But yeah, with one of those, with a nice small up pipe, will give you the best response, best torque, but you know, power is going to be gone by 5,000 really. So you know, the revs are not there. So it's all about the low end grunt. I'm not sure whether they do it with a V-band, but I'm sure you could get a V-banded setup made. Another question from Steve. Would it be beneficial for a rotated turbo setup? Not with a restrictor, no. The rotated turbo, the advantage of that is you can fit a bit bigger turbo there, but you're just going to have all lag and no top end power because the restrictor restricts. So standard position works fabulous for the 34mm restrictor. Right. Boom, boom, boom. How is everyone, by the way? Yeah, I hope everyone's had a good day. I know you got fun and games over in the States. We got fun and games with the budget here in the UK, which is, yeah, pretty weird. Right, am I coming to Norfolk anymore, or how near? Hi Dan, how you doing, mate? I haven't been coming to Norfolk for a few years, but not a problem with coming up there if there's enough people there for me to sort. It's like a 10-hour round trip for me, and the last time I went up there, arranged 3 people for the day, which was great, but 2 of them didn't turn up, so kind of knocked it on the head from after that. Right, question from Heidi Fiegels. Hi Duncan, or hey Duncan. So my question is, when you are working on the 06 STI and you have modded the ECM, patched the ROM, I thought I had my definitions in order, but I can't get the tables changeable. Right, are you doing that in ROM Raider, or are you doing that in ECU Edit, or some other software? If it's ECU Edit, then it could well be that your cached folder for XML definitions has been corrupted. I went through this with one of the Academy members earlier on, clearing out their cache folder and making it so that the ECU Edit software would actually recreate the cache every time you load it in. And that solved the problem, and the tables that he was expecting to see were then viewable. It might be that. If you can give me a bit more information, I might be able to tell you. Right. Okay, Oregon coast. Yeah, hi. What's the time there? That must be early morning there. Is it? Or no? Yeah, must be early. Should be morning anyway, I would have thought. Right, 412 wheel torque and 380 horsepower. Nice. An 85 RX turbo. I bet that goes quite well for what that is. Right, Dan. Hi, Dan. Fitted the front mount to my car. It hasn't been remapped since putting it on, but it's already mapped with VF39 induction kit, blue STI injectors, fuel pump, and full. I'm presuming that's supposed to say decat exhaust. Right, okay, and it now only boosts to 15. Okay, did boost to 24 psi. We're fitting a front mount intercooler because you got more pipe work there. You can sometimes see a pressure drop because of it. It needs mapping. So yeah, that's probably what it is. You could smoke test the intercooler and the pipework to make sure there's no leaks. That system, basically you plug one end of the induction setup, put a pressured smoke jet in there, and pressurize the system with the smoke in there, and the smoke will come out where there's leaks, and you'd be surprised where there are leaks. Might be worth doing, but aside from that, it probably just needs mapping. Right, hi Fred. Right, Tom. Right, hi Tom. 550 dark blue injector is good for 360 on a 2.5. If I wanted to shoot for more, would I need 750? Or could you use adjustable fuel pressure regulator to give some headroom? Yeah, it depends how much more you want to shoot for. If like 360 on a 2.5, you could probably stretch that out to 370 by running it slightly leaner, therefore it's giving you a bit of injector duty available. Putting a fuel pressure regulator on there and turning the pressure up maybe half a bar would also give you probably another 10-20 horsepower's worth of available fuel. If you wanted to get beyond the 400, then I'd say put bigger injectors in. It's a cleaner way to do it. The problem with running too much fuel pressure is it can heat the fuel up and stress the fuel pump quite a lot as well. So, I've tried running 4.5-5 bar of base pressure, but it generates such a lot of heat. It wasn't worth it. I just got proper sized injectors in the end. Right, question: what's the best type and grade of oil for Subaru GC8 350 horsepower? At the moment, I am using Liquimoly 1060 Racetech oil. I've done a few oil changes with that in, and it's coming out virtually the same as it goes in. Really clean, really nice, and it seems to be really good value as well. A few engine builders that I know use it and swear by it. So I've given it a go on my cars. so far it seems to be working well. Nothing bad has happened. Aside from that, as I say, the oil comes out clean and, still slippery, so it's fine. I don't like the 530, 540 kind of thin oil that a lot of the oil companies try and push on Subaru owners now. I think it's too thin. Running a slightly thicker oil, I think, works better. On the race car, I ran 1550, and that works brilliantly. Okay, opinion on camber adjusting bolt kits and anti-lift kits. Right, I'll cover them separately. Camber adjusting bolt kits, yeah, perfect. If that's what you need to get to the camber settings that you want to get to. On the video that I did on my car, on the Forester, where I went through the suspension setup, I shared the settings that I use for that, for camber and towing and those sort of bits. Camber bolts were useful on the front, but I need to put them on the rear to get the camber exactly right on the rear, because there's only so much you can do with the camber on the rear setup, so the camber adjusting bolts do help. The anti-lift kit is actually the opposite of anti-lift. It's a pro-lift kit, effectively. So I don't know why they called it that. It isn't that at all. But it does add extra caster, and caster is really good. So from a piece of kit that changes the caster, if they called it a caster adjusting kit, perfect, absolutely winner. But for some reason they called it an anti-lift kit, which is not what it is. Good modification, really good modification, because it means you only get more negative camber when you're going around a corner, and means you can run less negative camber in a straight line, so you get better braking, better stability. Ooh, hi Duncan, great name by the way. Right, you again, turbo selection for 2.5 to make good low-end torque, not excessive BHP. I love the VF43 and the VF48. I think they're a superb turbo. Just a standard one off the block. If you're mapping it for torque rather than brake horsepower, then you can get in excess of 400 pounds a foot of torque. So what's that? 600 newton meters. And they work really well. They're rebuildable, so you can rebuild them if you need to, and pretty readily available. A lot of Hawk STIs or hatchback STIs are around where people are wanting to upgrade the turbos. Means that the second-hand one is available. A lot of them have got cracks in the wastegate. Not really an issue. As long as the crack isn't holding the penny open. If it's just a little crack up there, I wouldn't have a problem with fitting it. Mad Cyclist. Hi. Right, how can you get your car to me? You messaged another Q&A, but still no fix. It's been to a Subaru dealership. With still no resolve to the problem. Subaru dealerships in the UK are absolutely appalling. Even back in the days, sort of 2006, where they were selling the cars, they knew nothing about them. Nowadays, most of the Subaru dealers have only been Subaru dealers for like 2 years, 3 years, and they've got no experience of any of the cars that we drive. Only things like the Solterra or the massively boring cars that they sell now. The Subaru website for UK car sales is depressing beyond belief, and the dealers have got no idea. If they can't plug in with the OBD reader and see a problem, they've got no idea of how to solve it. How do you get the car to me? Email me at duncan@racedynamics.com, and we'll sort it out. It's easy. Right. Kyle, 6-speed dog box or 6-speed sequential? Your opinion? Yeah, X shift 6-speed, brilliant. The Samson S box that I'll be setting up on the space frame time attack jobby is pretty impressive as well. I'd go sequential. Yeah, I'd choose sequential rather than a 6-speed dog box. Oh, right, okay, this word again, best. Best is a really hard thing to define, because your best is different to my best. You know, I might like a turbo that's 500 horsepower, for example, which would be best for me, but your idea of best is something that you can put your foot down at 2000 RPM and get boost. It depends what power and what you're using the car for as to what's best. On a GCA, I like the 16G that came with the standard version 1 to STIs. You know, they're 340, maybe 350 horsepower turbo. If they're still in good condition, you can run 1.3, 1.4 bar of boost through them, 1 or 2 litre, easily rebuildable, and they work well. And that sort of horsepower level for a GC8 with a 5-speed box is kind of within the realms of what's reliable if everything's in good condition. And 340, 350 horsepower in a GC8 Classic is a really quick car. Don't chase power figures, because you end up in a world of pain. Yeah, it's possible. You must have run that a little bit leaner on that, Colin, to get that 86% duty. Yeah, and also it depends on the dyno as to what's recording it. But yeah, you can get more, Tom, leaning it out slightly. But, you know, if you wanted to get substantially more, then bigger injectors are the way. Yeah, and as Heidi says, VF34 on a 2 litre is absolutely epic for your rally car. 34 is almost indestructible. I've run them at 2.2 bar, I think it was, and yeah, they'll fly along. They will fly along. Hi Naviz, how you doing, mate? Right, right, Nick, how does the math scale affect the map? Is it wider the leaner or closer the units the richer? I'm not quite understanding the question there, Nick. The math scale basically is a measurement of the airflow going into the engine. Once the ECU knows how much air is going in, what the mass of the air goes in, it knows through internal calculations how much fuel to add. So the higher the value that you've set in the math curve, the more fuel it will add. The lower the value, the lower the amount of fuel. So obviously you got to set that right. On a standard airbox, the standard math curve should be absolutely spot on. With induction kits, with changes in the diameter of the pipe going in there, it will change the amount of air that's measured, so it needs setting up. Right, okay, Craig, I'm rebuilding my EJ25 big end shot. Sorry to hear that. If I put in a standard nitrided crank rods and standard size forged pistons, does the crank and bearings still need to be measured for clearances? I would, yeah. Yeah, crank, like the big end bearings, main bearings, and probably even the rod bearings, the big end bearings, then yeah, I would plastic age them just to make sure that the gaps are right. I've seen them where they've been slightly off, and it would be really frustrating for the sake of a little bit of plastic age to put it together and you have no oil pressure, or you have an engine that only lasts a couple of weeks. So if you're rebuilding it, then while it's apart, you might as well do the extra little bit properly. How you doing, Callan? Hi, mate. Bum, bum, bum. Right. Right, safe boost pressure or torque figure for an EJ257. It's a tricky one, really, because the problem on the 257 is the pistons, or the standard pistons in a EJ257. The ring lands on the bigger 2 litre hyper-uretic, or whatever the word is, cast pistons. The ring lands are quite fragile, so they don't like any detonation at all. It's a safe boost pressure, torque figure. Probably the easiest way to describe it is if a customer brings a car to me with an EJ257 engine, like let's say a Hawkeye STI, VF43 turbo, running too much boost on that VF43 doesn't create any more power than maybe 1.3 bar of boost on that, so 18 psi of boost. Add more boost on that and you're just generating heat, and you have to take out ignition time into account for the heat, and you lose more power from the ignition time than you would from the boost. 1.3 bar generally will give you sort of 350 horsepower, and depending on how good the turbo is and the exhaust and the various other bits, then the torque figure, you're probably up around the 400 pounds per foot of torque, and that's normally okay on a 257 if it's in good condition, if you're running good fuel, good oil. Right. Okay, so you Flash and Ron Raider. Email me and I'll chat to you outside of this, and we'll try and solve it. I'm a genius. Thank you very much. I keep telling my wife that every day. She is very lucky. Alright, Ankit Thakur. Right, hi Duncan. Any experience with Mamba or Kinigawa 20G 21T turbos for Legacy GT twin scroll? Are these turbos good for tuning and making reliable power? They're better than they used to be. When they first hit the scene, they were absolutely appalling. They are better than that now. They are not appalling now. The bigger Mamba ones are probably what I'd class as slightly disappointing. They never quite make the power figures that they say that they will. They're always slightly laggier than they say they are. And most people, I find, end up changing them to a better quality bigger turbo rather than the cheaper end like the Mamba and Kinigawa. So in my opinion, if you're going to change the turbo to a bigger one, save up a few extra pennies and get the one you really want rather than a cheaper copy. The Irashi turbos, again, pretty good, but not quite sort of top tree kind of turbos. But it depends what you want to get. If it's value for money for the power and you'll accept a little bit of lag, not a problem. Ah, cool. Right. Yeah, keep me updated, or keep everyone updated. Little late, been fitting engine. Ah, you got it back. Awesome. I'll see you soon then, Mel. Hi Duncan, Forester XT gearing 4.4 versus new age WRX gearing. Any difference noticed on the dyno? The dyno is just measuring power, wheel power. Well, it's measuring torque really, and then it converts it back to power, and then it converts that back to flywheel horsepower and flywheel torque. So once you set the gear ratios up on the dyno, it doesn't matter whether it's a 4.4 or a 4.1 or a 3.54 or whatever it is. It'll work out the power accordingly. You will notice it on the road. So a shorter box is going to mean that you're flying up through the gears a lot like an RA. Like version 3 or 4 RA WRX, really quick up through the gears, but it's not the gearbox for motorway cruising. Right. Right. What would the expected power of your setup? Oh God, let me flick back. Remind me of what your setup. Oh, VF39. What power did it make last time, Dan? The front mount will generally give you another 20 horsepower over a top mount. So that's kind of where I would be looking. The power figure to me doesn't mean an awful lot. When I'm tuning it, I am making sure that the fueling's right, because that means it's safe, it's happy. I'm making sure there's no detonation, so making sure the ignition time is set up right, and I'm playing with the boost to see at what point the boost, adding more boost doesn't increase the power by balancing those other 3 components, or other 2 components, or 3 if you're including cam timing. So generally, by putting a front mount on there, you can run slightly more boost. You can run slightly leaner because it's a lot more consistent. You don't have to build so much of a safety margin in with the front mount as you do with the top mount, because heat soak is not going to be an issue. So a bit of a cop out, but it would be more than it was. So yeah, that's it. Power predictions, ask me afterwards, is generally what I say. Right. Okay. You've had to load US domestic market ROM in your EDM bug-eye to get the cob monitoring and data logging working. I've not used the cob access port for years. Probably 12, 13 years since the last access port that I've done. We just don't see it in the UK. That was one for a US airbase personnel who had his cob car here in the UK, and I helped him out with it. So yeah, special considerations for tuning, exactly the same as if you were tuning with Tactrix. So making sure that the air fuel ratio is right. So get a wideband, make some deck cans, put them on the car, and then fine tune it as per the normal procedure that I go through. Right, for road use only, but in your opinion, ideal power a foot figure for an STI Forester SG9 over a Hawkeye STI. Do you think the Forester needs a little bit more due to weight? I think they're actually the same weight. Certainly there isn't an awful lot of difference weight-wise, maybe a bit of height-wise, but not weight. I love the Forester STI around the 350 horsepower. I think that's perfect. About 380 pounds a foot of torque, also perfect. To me, that's the ideal setup for a Forester STI. How are we doing time-wise? Right, okay, good. Keep the questions coming in, guys. We got loads here to go through. Oh, no, done that one. Right, 94 import top entry turbo. Do you need a different front mount kit compared to the side entry turbo? No. The turbo exit is in the same place. It's just the entrance is pointing down once you got the 90 degree inlet onto the turbo. You could change the turbo to a front entry one by raising the manifold up a little bit to give you a little bit of room to run an inlet pipe underneath there. You need to change the power steering pump as well, but yeah, it's the same intercooler kit, or the same effectively the same intercooler kit. The top mount turbos always make slightly less power than if they were front mount. Indeed, you're absolutely right there. And like heating the fuel up massively caused some really spectacular misfires. But I had to try these things so that I could experiment and learn from them. Alright, how's the new Fozzy engine? Yeah, I've done a few hundred miles now. It feels beautiful, ticking away beautifully, just purrs. It's lovely. Yeah, it's had an oil change already, and it's onto the second lot of oil. Just running cheap rubbish to start with, just to do the normal running in procedure. But yeah, getting there. Hopefully be on the dyno next week. Yeah, I'm going to CFS 1050. Yeah, good oil. Ooh. Right, Ultra Racing 3-point fender braces. There are a million things that people will try and sell you to bolt onto the car, underbody braces here, there and everywhere. Aftermarket pitch stop mounts that are so big, so massively over-engineered. Do they help? I think no. I run a standard pitch mount on mine. I ran a standard pitch mount on the Time Attack race car at 850 horsepower. I had stronger engine mounts, stronger gearbox mounts, and obviously stronger diff mounts at the rear. But yeah, the pitch mount, no, I just ran the standard STI pitch mount. There were no fender braces, none of that. I have no idea how they could possibly improve things, but yeah, I may be wrong. Is 540 feet, even it's just been rebuilt with OE and chocolate. You know, I just have a bad feeling. You know, it used to be when I bought my Hawkeye STI, I bought that new. 1040 was the recommended oil, and these engines aren't a modern engine. So I think 530 or 540 is just a little bit too thin for my liking. It slightly thicker oil gives it a bit more bounce. I think it's a better thing. I'm not an oil technician, but just from sounding of an engine, it sounds nicer with a slightly thicker oil in there. Right, hi Duncan, just bought a 2004 wagon with 6-speed conversion, got fault code 0851 neutral position sensor. I have never seen code 851 neutral position switch in all my years, even when the neutral position switch is absolutely, well, disconnected. Is that, bear with me a second, let me just check on the map top. Alright, 851 is neutral position switch input low. Okay, I've not seen it. It's not going to make any difference on yours or anyone else's. Because you haven't got AVCS heads on yours, then it's not going to switch off the AVCS. I had a car earlier on in the week that had a problem with the neutral position switch on an STI, this was, and because of that it switches off the variable cam timing, and you get a little bit of hesitation in the mid-range if the sensor's coming in and out. On a 2004 wagon, I'm assuming a WRX wagon, there aren't many STI wagons. The only thing that it can do if the neutral position switch is faulty or not present is bring up a code for a misfire, a random misfire, but it's not going to affect mapping in any way, shape or form. If it's still present in there, it could be a case of just grounding a wire off the ECU or cutting a wire off the ECU just to get rid of that code. Or I could just switch it off in the map. Yeah, and another one for 1050 or 1060 Miller's for short motor. Yeah, I think the 1050 1060R I think just works better. Right. Okay, David, tuning a 4 EAT difficult, fully built EJ205 with 272 cams. Trying to get MAFCA smooth has been a battle. Could it be the cams? Yes, it could. Right, what gear do I use for the auto street tuning? Same gear that I use for any road mapping, street tuning. So I've got a wideband. I use a Innovate LM2 wideband, which I have a dash mount. So if I'm mapping it on the road, I'm driving. I don't like customers driving their cars. They're not used to the process. They don't know how to drive for mapping, and it's a very unusual and quite unsafe procedure if they're driving me when I'm telling them to give me full throttle. Most of them don't give me full throttle, so I prefer to drive it myself. It's safer. If I'm going to die, I want to be the one driving. I say that because I've been across roundabouts and into fields and yeah, nasty stuff with people driving their own cars. Street tuning, so wideband LM2. I have a clamp on the rear of the exhaust that's measuring the air fuel ratio out the back. I have deck cans that I bolt to the inlet manifold, run them through the passenger window, and I put those on for when I'm doing a power run or for when I'm doing a full throttle, wide open throttle run. For the auto box, I try and lock it in gear if I can, or at least try and avoid the kick down. 272s, the issue you'll have with the 272 cams if they're quite high lift is around that 2000 RPM mark, which according to your math scale is probably going to be around sort of 15-20 grams per second of air. It will need to be running a lot richer than you think it does, and richer than the lambda sensor will think it does. So you probably find it's better to try and remove a lot of the air fuel corrections and just effectively tell it to run open loop all the way through. And that would be an easier way to do it. Right. It's alright, blimey, scooping it. Yeah, those are the days. The other day I was reading some of my old posts on ROM Raider back from 2006, I think it was 2007. Very interesting. Right. Evening Paul, hi Nick. Right. Good news, you did the cache thing where I set the definition and cleaned everything up. Now I can see all the launch, blah, blah, blah. Right, awesome, brilliant. Right, right, is the EFR series turbo still the best for spool? I'm not aware of the EFR turbo, unless I'm missing something on that. Can you tell me what it is, or what have you? I'm not recognising the name. Okay, yeah, 11.4. So yeah, slightly leaner. Yeah, induction kit and TGV delete would have get you that. Yeah, okay. VF Forester STR and a VF43 instead of a VF41. Yeah, the 41 flows really well though. I've had 375 out of those before. On the right car, on the right day. See, the VF43 is a similar sort of turbo spec, similar size, similar CFM. It depends what you got. An SG9 Forester STI is going to have a VF41. If that dies, put a 43 or a 48 or a hybrid, and it will do it. Boom, boom, boom. Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, good question. Cylinder pressure. How to know if not limited, i.e. E85 fuel, how do you monitor pressures, fire coolant or oil pressures? There's never too much NOS. E85 tuning has got to be done on the dyno because it's too easy to keep adding the ignition time and you're well over the top of MBT, and all you're doing is raising pressures. Doing it on the dyno, at least you can see where adding ignition timing isn't adding more power. Bring it back a bit from there. NOS, yeah, without monitoring sort of pressure in the coolant pressure is probably the easiest thing to do. Oil pressure is not really going to pick up any sort of pressurizing of the oil system. Yeah, coolant pressure sensor would probably be the ideal way to do that. It will give you early warning of head gasket failure, but easy to do with an aftermarket ECU, like you're running a Link on yours or with a Cyvex. On a standard ECU, you're not going to know that, and unless you're running a separate gauge, and then it's another gauge to look at. Coolant pressure sensor would be the ideal way to do that. Right. Yeah, there are some issues with the Omni 4-bar ones. The red ones seem to be unreliable and inconsistent. Alright, how are we doing time-wise? Right, 9 minutes left. Right, will I get any benefits from swapping standard inlet manifolds for Cosworth manifold if running 500 horsepower plus? You'll get a Christmas card from the person that sells you the Cosworth manifold. I don't think that the manifold will make much of a difference, if any. I ran 850 horsepower on mine on the standard STI inlet manifold with TGV deletes. I ran the same turbo on a customer's car with a little bit more boost because he wanted to break my 787, so we got it up over 800. And he had a Cosworth manifold on here, so maybe it made 20 horsepower difference. It's a shitload of money for 20 horsepower. I wouldn't do it. The Process West one looks lovely as well. Same as the Cosworth one looks lovely. But it's a lot of money for marginal gains. What diameter vacuum hoses are best to use? The same size as the things that you're putting them on. I use 4mm vacuum hose that I get. I buy bulk loads of it from Viper, I think it is, Viper Performance in the UK. And that works for all the boost solenoid stuff, and because it's silicone hose, you can stretch it onto other stuff. And good quality hose isn't going to split as easily. But yeah, just too small, and you can get some issues with boost control side of things. Too big, and it's just going to slip off what you're going to put it on. So 4mm tends to fit most things. Right, Heidi, you have launch control and flat foot shifting in the 85 RX sedan. Right, cool. I'll pay you later. Right, thank you for that. I hear if you paint the car Sonic Yellow, that adds another 12.5. No, it's actually 23.1 horsepower, Fred. I can't wait for Lauren's bug eye to come out to play. That would be cool. Right, okay. Blimey, we've still got questions. 5 minutes to go, right. Right, 97 UK 2000 on 158th hour original engine. I've owned it 5 years. Friend owned it 2 years before me without taking it apart. How would you know if it's been forged? You can hear a forged engine. If it's done 158,000, great. Personally, if you're not going to be pushing the power up massively on it, then keep running it until it dies, and then put a brand new short block from Subaru in it, and you get another 200,000 miles out of that engine. Hi Matt. Carl's having a bit of a auto spelling check issue. Yeah, Borg Warner. Right, okay, yeah. I haven't tuned many of those. Not a lot of those get fitted in the UK, or certainly not a lot get fitted in the UK and come to me, so I don't know where they're going. It's a good turbo, but there are lots of good turbos for around that 500 horsepower mark. Yeah, okay, right. Bleezy Turbsky. Right, hi Duncan, it's a stage 4 competition clutch overkill for a 400 horsepower build. Yes, I would say so. If you want to be driving it on the road, it's just going to be horrific. On and off and stalling it all the time or juddering. Generally for 400 horsepower, just put a new clutch in the Forester STI, extreme heavy duty organic. Feels just like a standard clutch, but it's got enough bite to be able to take 400-ish plus horsepower, no problem. I think Grant has one of those on his, and that's, you know, close to 500 horsepower. Feels like a standard clutch, drives like a standard clutch. And yeah, it's just more pleasurable to drive. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, agree with Carl there. Newer turbos like the Zona and the G series, Garrett's are better. They are. Yeah, if it's a 6-putt light and flywheel, it's not going to be very pleasurable to drive, and depending on what gearbox you got, it's going to transfer a lot of shock loading into the gearbox. So if you got a 5-speed, that sort of on-off shudder could kill the gearbox. But yeah, everyone has their own definition of what is good, but that wouldn't be my idea of what was good. Right, almost at the end now. Right, alright Duncan, is there an average horsepower number on 2.5 and pump gas before you need to go to race fuels? Will I get 500 on V-Power on my 2.5 with a 3071 500 rated 550 horsepower rated turbo? I'd love to know who rated a 3071 at 550 horsepower. It isn't. The 3071 is about a 520 horsepower turbo. 3076 is about 520 horsepower turbo. Standard position generally on a Subaru engine, the maximum is around 500-ish horsepower, 520 at a push. Yeah, if you went to a rotated turbo, you could get more horsepower before you kind of go into race fuels or methanol or ethanol. I would question whether that's a 550 horsepower turbo. It isn't. 3071, generally high 400s. Alright. Right, after a tune, you've gone from 350 miles to a full tank down to 200 miles. Under what reason would that be? Aside from just a glib answer that you're actually putting your foot down a lot now, it could be that the fuel tables or the math scaling is incorrect, or you've got a slight boost leak after the turbo, which again would do a similar thing. It would run massively rich, or the O2 sensors gone skew-if. yeah, I'd get it checked out, see whether any of those things. Right, I am at the end, but there's still questions. Yeah, bless him. Yeah, road mapping with other people driving, even the best drivers, it's scary. I will road map with people that I really trust driving, because it is unusual, the circumstances. Right, guys, I'm going to have to call it a day, but I'll cover the last couple of questions. Right, if my battery is bigger than factory, can it make the alternator work harder and in turn cause power issues? I wouldn't have thought so. I can't see any reason why that would cause an issue. What sort of power issues are you getting? I think it would, power issues would tend to be earthing issues or an actual alternator fault. Right, totally random ones, but do you have any hints and tips of putting an RB25 into a new aging Pretsat in terms of wiring and ECU types of things? Yeah, you're into custom loom on that one, and you would definitely be into aftermarket ECU. All doable, but expect a big budget for a custom loom and ECU. Would I do another 24? I don't think I could do another 24 hours in the Forester SDI. That would kill me. It almost killed me the last time. Right. Okay, right. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for the questions. Hope you got something out of it. If you're watching it on replay, by all means, ask questions in the comments below and I will answer it as soon as I can. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one.